Chapter 1441. Her eyes flashed as she recalled what Sanyangzi said to her mother that day. Therefore, she looked at the two of them and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, what a coincidence. I also met Uncle Master Shangwan in this forest earlier." "What? You met junior sister Shangwan?" The two of them looked at Fingzhou in astonishment. She really went into the depths of the forest. Hearing this and seeing their reaction, she blinked and said, "I only saw the white figure from afar and it looked very much like Martial Aunt Shangwan. I didn't see her face, but I've seen Martial Aunt Shangwan a few times in the mountains, so I'm somewhat sure that the figure was her, but what?" the two of them asked nervously. Fingzhou looked at them and said worriedly, "But at that time, I saw that Martial Aunt Shangwan seemed to be injured, and there was no one beside her. I wanted to chase after her, but I was only in the foundation establishment stage, so I couldn't catch up to her speed." She heard that three Yangzi's disciples had some ulterior motives towards her mother. Since that was the case, she could make use of them. Sure enough, when the two of them heard this, they frowned and walked to the side, whispering, "Eldest senior brother is right. Master will definitely let junior sister pick the herbs that he needs. Could it be that what eldest senior brother said was true? Master really intends to. No matter what, I think we should remind junior sister. But I'm afraid that even if we want to, we can't change Master's decision. Let's not talk about other things first. If junior sister really wants to pick the 3 herbs, it must be in the mountain of 1,000 herbs in the depths of the secret realm. Only there are the 3 herbs that Master needs. However, there are many guardian beasts in the mountain of 1,000 herbs. I'm afraid that if we're late, junior sister will. Then let's hurry over, maybe we can help." Thus, the two of them prepared to rush into the depths of the forest. At this moment, a pair of hands reached out and pulled on their robes. "Martial uncles, please wait." Fingzhou, who had heard their words, looked at them and blinked innocently, saying, "Martial uncles, take me with you. I'll die if I stay here alone in this deep forest. If you follow this direction, you'll reach the outer perimeter. We want to go deeper, and it'll be inconvenient for you." One of them said, waving his hand and glancing at the robe that was being pulled. "Let go." Fingzhou didn't let go. Instead, he said, "But Martial uncle, if you leave, what if I encounter ferocious beasts when I go out? What if they encountered a pack of wolves? I will die. Martial uncle, we are all from 3 Yang Peak. Although I am only a part-time disciple, I am still a disciple. You must take me with you." Hearing this, the two of them frowned, looked at each other, and sent out a wave of energy. "You'll die faster if you follow us." With that, they ignored Fingzhou and rushed into the forest. Seeing this, Fingzhou grinned. "Mountain of all medicines. Is this the destination?" With that, she tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and followed behind the two of them. At the same time, in the depths of the forest, at the foot of the mountain of 1,000 herbs, Shangwan Wanrong, who was dressed in white, raised her head and looked at the precipitous mountain of 1,000 herbs. She looked at the myriad of spiritual herbs growing on the mountain. Chapter 1442. She glanced at the mountain of all medicines in front of her and called out her flying sword, intending to ride it up. This side of the mountain was too steep, so she could only go up the mountain first and then look for those herbs. However, when she flew up on her flying sword and approached the mountain of all medicines, a wave of pressure came from the mountain and fiercely pressed her down from midair. Her entire body instantly lost balance and fell down. "Ah!" she cried out in surprise. Due to the pressure, she was unable to stabilize her body as she fell. Seeing that she was about to fall, a figure swept out and caught her. Shangwan Wanrong was startled and was slightly surprised when she saw the person who came. "Eldest senior brother. Why are you here?" After landing, she steadied herself and hurriedly retreated from his side. She looked at the person in front of her with a complicated expression. This was a man who looked to be in his 30s. He wore a green robe and his black hair was tied up. His face was upright and handsome. In the cultivation world where handsome men and beautiful women were as common as clouds, this kind of appearance wasn't considered outstanding. However, his aura was steady, and his deep eyes were filled with the light of wisdom. His entire body exuded the steady aura of a mature man. At this moment, he looked at Sheng Wanwanrong, who retreated from his side, and withdrew his hand with a natural expression. However, there was a touch of disappointment and loss in his heart. "Junior sister, you can't go pick these herbs." He looked at her and said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Sheng Wanwanrong's eyes flashed. "Eldest senior brother knows what herbs I came to pick. Didn't master say that he only told her about this? Only told her to come here to pick herbs? Didn't he say that he had other instructions for eldest senior brother and the others?" "Why?" Seemingly seeing her doubts, Duan Mubai sighed softly. "Master didn't tell us that you came to the mountain of all medicines to pick herbs, but we all know. Junior sister, I've been by master's side for so many years, so master's matters can't be hidden from me." Do you know that his voice paused, as if he didn't know how to say it? It also seemed that these words were difficult to say. Sheng Wanwanrong frowned slightly. "Isn't it just picking herbs? Could it be that there's something I don't know?" Duan Mubai looked at her and said, "Give me your hand." Hearing this, she hesitated for a moment and reached out her hand. She saw him reach out and put his finger on her wrist, carefully checking her pulse. Seeing this, she was puzzled. What was he doing? Was there something wrong with her body? Impossible. If there was any discomfort in her body, she would know. After all, she was also an alchemist and more or less knew some medical knowledge. After a while, Duan Mubai withdrew his hand and sighed softly. "Master is indeed master. I'm useless and can't detect the abnormality in your body. However, I can tell you that you really can't go and pick this medicine. If you do, you'll be giving away your life." "Why?" She didn't understand. Although master was strict with her, not allowing her to go out and not allowing her to have too much contact with her senior brothers, from time to time, he would still refine some pills that could increase her strength and were beneficial to her. Could it be that he would harm her? What's more, she was very careful. Even if it was the pill that her master gave her, she would only take it after checking that it wasn't poisonous and wouldn't cause any harm to her body. There shouldn't be any problems. Chapter 1443. He looked at her and paused for a moment before saying, "Junior sister, I actually think it's better for you to leave the Danyang sect." Sheng Wanwanrong's heart sank when she heard this. She asked, "Eldest senior brother, do you know something about me that I don't know?" "Eldest senior brother, little junior sister." Two voices were heard. The two people standing at the foot of the mountain turned around and saw two figures rushing over from not far away. Behind them, there was a thin and small cyan figure following. Its third junior brother and fourth junior brother. Duan Mubai's gaze swept past the two people and landed on the cyan figure behind them. "Who is that?" Sheng Wanwanrong glanced at the two people in front of her, then her gaze landed on the cyan figure behind them. When she saw who the thin and small figure was, she couldn't help but be slightly startled. "It's 3 Yang Peak's odd job disciple, Fengjiu. But why did he also come here? Eldest senior brother, little junior sister, why are the two of you together?" The two people arrived in front of them and looked at them with surprise. "I knew little junior sister would come here, so I waited for her here." Duan Mubai looked at the two of them and said, "Why did you also bring an odd job disciple here? How did he come in?" There was a rule that only Golden Core Realm alchemists could enter. That youth was only an odd job disciple, and a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator at that. Why did he also come in? And he even followed them here. Ah! The two people were startled. They looked at each other and then turned around. When they saw the figure following behind them, a strange expression appeared on their faces. We clearly let him go out first, but we didn't expect him to actually follow us in. What surprised them was that this odd job disciple could actually keep up with their footsteps. However, when they saw that the odd job disciple was in a sorry state, his cyan clothes were slightly torn, his face was covered in dust, and he was sweating profusely as he followed behind them, they were relieved. Marshall and Shengwan. Fengjiu waved at his mother from afar and grinned happily. Because he saw her standing there safe and sound. Therefore, he quickly walked forward. Only the heavens knew how difficult it was for her to make herself look so wretched and covered in sweat. It would be strange if they didn't find it strange if someone was following them with light footsteps. Arriving in front of him, she smiled and bowed respectfully towards Duanmubai. Greetings, Marshall uncle. He hadn't seen any of them even after spending so much time at the Three Yang Peak. However, he didn't expect to see three of them here. The last one didn't seem to be here. Why are you here? Shengwan Wanrong looked at Fengjiu and asked. She saw that he was in a sorry state and was sweating profusely, but there were no wounds on his body. She couldn't help but be puzzled. In the depths of the forest, even golden core cultivators would inevitably be injured. Although this youth was in a sorry state, there was not a single wound on his body. It was as if he had not encountered any danger along the way. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and squinted his eyes. I was chased into this place by a giant bear. Fortunately, I met the two martial uncles, and then I followed them all the way here. Duanmubai, the eldest disciple of the Three Yangtze, was somewhat out of her expectations. This person was calm and reserved, and his appearance was maintained to be extremely youthful. It was impossible to tell that he was already a few decades old. Chapter 1444. Yes. She replied and lowered her gaze. Duanmubai stared at Fengjiu for a while before looking away at Shengwan Wanrong. Junior sister, what do you plan to do next? As soon as they heard this, their gazes descended onto Shengwan Wanrong, and they saw her looking at the mountain of 1,000 herbs above her. She said, since Master told me to get those 3 herbs, then I'll go get them. As for the rest, we'll talk about it after we return to the sect. She wanted to see why she would lose her life if she picked those 3 herbs. What did those 3 herbs have to do with her? What exactly did her master want to do? Fengjiu's eyes flickered, and he thought to himself, those 3 herbs. What exactly are those 3 herbs? Why did these people's expressions change when they mentioned those 3 herbs? Seeing this, Duanmubai sighed. Junior sister, why do you have to do this? Eldest senior brother, you don't have to say any more. Shengwan Wanrong looked at them and said, I'll go into the mountain of 1,000 herbs to pick herbs. Don't follow me. Don't worry, I'll be fine. We'll meet in the sect. As she spoke, she cupped her hands and bowed to the 3 of them before walking forward. Junior sister. Duanmubai stood in front of her and frowned. The mountain of 1,000 herbs has restrictions in the air, so you can't go up on your sword. It's too dangerous for you to go up like this. If you fall from midair like before, how many times do you think you'll be so lucky? I'll be careful. She looked at him steadily and said, Eldest senior brother, this is the task that Master gave me. Moreover, Master told me that he has another task for you. I think that it's impossible for you to be here. Hearing this, their eyes flickered slightly. That's right, they shouldn't have appeared here. Their master did give them some other instructions, but when they found out that she had entered this place, they came looking for her. They didn't follow her but looked at each other as she walked forward. Finally, their gazes landed on Duanmubai. Eldest senior brother, are we really going to let junior sister go into the mountain to look for herbs? Not to mention other things, there are many poisonous snakes and fierce beasts there. If she goes alone, won't she? Go and do what Shizhuan told you to do. I'll follow junior sister to take a look, Duanmu instructed and gestured for the two of them to leave first. Then, as if he had thought of something, he said, "Oh right, bring that odd job disciple out as well. Let him. Where is he?" He turned around, but found that the youth who was originally standing not far away had disappeared at some point. The two of them were also stunned. They looked around and suddenly pointed to the front. "Eldest senior brother, look. That servant disciple is over there." Only to see that the cyan figure had already passed by them at some unknown time, following behind Shengwan Wanrong. Seeing this scene, they couldn't help but be startled. What is this odd job worker trying to do? A mere foundation establishment cultivator dared to enter the mountain of 1,000 medicines. Does he want to die? Duanmu said angrily and quickly chased after him. At this moment, Shengwan Wanrong, who was in front, looked at the young man behind her and couldn't help but stop. "Why are you following me? Go back quickly." Fengjiu grinned and looked at her with narrowed eyes. "Uncle Master Shengwan, don't you want to pick herbs? I'll go in with you. I can pick herbs too." Chapter 1445. "It's alright, I can protect myself." Shengwan Wanrong was about to speak when Duanmu walked over and said to Fengjiu with a solemn face, "How can a servant disciple like you protect yourself? Hurry up and follow them out." Hearing this, Fengjiu blinked and came to Shengwan Wanrong's side. "Martial Aunt Shengwan, just let me follow you. I really won't cause any trouble for you. It wasn't easy coming here, and I also want to go up and pick herbs." As she spoke, she paused and glanced at Duanmu before continuing, "Moreover, there's no rule that says that disciples who come here to train can't go near the mountain of 1,000 herbs. If you don't bring me along, then I can only stay away from you. However, I will still enter the mountain of 1,000 herbs." Hearing this, Shengwan Wanrong's gaze moved slightly, and she looked deeply at Fengjiu before saying, "Since that's the case, then follow me. Junior sister. Eldest senior brother, you should go and do your own thing. I'll be fine here. If anything really happens, it will be after we return to the sect. At that time, if something really happens that I can't save myself, I hope that eldest senior brother can save my life." Her voice paused slightly as she looked into the distance and sighed softly. "Junior sister, I still have an unfulfilled wish. There's still someone I want to see." She was not afraid of death, but she was afraid that she would not be able to see her daughter, and not be able to see the man hidden deep in her heart. Fengjiu looked at the expression on her face and the helplessness in her words, and his heart clenched. "Mother, are you thinking of father and me? Do you want to go back and see us? Actually, I'm right here, right in front of you." Duanmu expression froze when he heard this, and he nodded solemnly. "Junior sister, don't worry, eldest senior brother promises you." He looked deeply at her and reminded her worriedly, "Since that's the case, then you must be careful when you enter the mountain." Shengwan Wanrong nodded in response and watched as he walked towards the other two. The three of them left together. "Let's go." She looked at Fengjiu and said, then turned and walked forward. Fengjiu looked at her from behind. He opened his mouth to say something, but he didn't know where to start. Was she going to tell her directly that she was her daughter? She was Feng Qingge. Could she believe it? If she were to say this out loud, even she herself wouldn't believe it. How could someone who used to be from a 9th-ranked country come to one of the 8 great empires, and in front of her? If she said that, she was afraid that she would only think that someone had sent her to get close to her. Thinking of this, she scratched her head in frustration. Sigh, why is it so difficult to acknowledge a relative? Shengwan Wanrong, who was walking in front, felt that the youth behind her had been looking at her. Judging from her breathing, it seemed that she had encountered something annoying and was in a difficult situation. However, since he didn't say anything, she didn't ask further. After all, it was his privacy. However, she slowed down her pace and looked in front of her, this mountain of 1,000 herbs has been sealed in the air. We can only go around this side and go up from the other side. Follow me closely. Some of the herbs in the forest are poisonous. Don't touch them in case you get poisoned. Yes. Fengzhou responded and quickly walked to her side. After glancing at her, he walked forward with her. Chapter 1446. 2 days later, they finally circled around the foot of the mountain and climbed up 10,000 Medicine Mountain. She followed beside her mother and watched her skillfully explore the forest, checking if there were any ferocious beasts in the surroundings. She would also pay attention to whether or not there were any guardian spiritual beasts when picking medicinal herbs. During these 2 days, they didn't encounter any major incidents or dangers. They walked towards the edge of the mountain, close to the precipitous wall. It seemed that the first medicinal herb grew in that precipitous wall. Thus, she glanced at her mother, who was squatting down to pick a spiritual herb, and asked, "Martial Uncle Shangguan, Martial Uncle Duan and the others said that you need to pick 3 spiritual herbs. What kind of spiritual herbs are they?" She was very curious. What 3 spiritual herbs were they that had to be picked? Moreover, from what they said, it seemed that if they picked all 3 herbs and gave them to 3 Yangtze, would her good mother lose her life? Why was it like this? Those are top-quality spiritual herbs. You don't recognize them. As Shangguan Wanrong spoke, she turned around and glanced at her. "Are you tired? Do you want to rest for a while?" Hearing this, she hurriedly said, "I'm just hungry." Hearing this, she took out a seclusion grain pill and handed it to Fengzhou. "Have you finished eating? Take this." Unexpectedly, Fengzhou shook his head and waved his hand. "I don't like to eat medicine to fill my stomach. I like to eat meat." Saying this, he couldn't help but grin. Shangguan Wanrong was startled and revealed a faint smile. "If you want to eat meat, you'll have to look for it on this mountain. Let's see if there's any meat to eat. Then should we rest for a while?" She looked at her expectantly and asked. "Rest? In any case, there's still a lot of time. There's no rush." As she spoke, she looked around and pointed to a place not far away, over there. "There's a large flat rock over there. There's no grass around, so we can rest there." "Okay." Fengzhou responded, then said, "Martial Uncle Shangguan, then you go sit for a while. I'll be back in a while." As soon as he finished speaking, he ran off. "Hey, you." Before Shangguan Wanrong could finish her sentence, she saw that Fengzhou had already run away. She could only go to the big rock and sit there, waiting for him to come back. About the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, Shangguan Wanrong, who was drinking water, saw the black-clothed young man come back with 2 wild pheasants in one hand and a bundle of dry branches in the other. She was startled, got up and walked forward. "Shu Shangguan, you just sit down. I'll do the rest." Fengzhou grinned, indicating that she didn't need to come over. Shangguan Wanrong came to Fengzhou's side and took the bundle of branches from her hands. She said with some surprise, "I didn't see any wild pheasants on the way here. How did you catch them?" This kind of pheasant ran the fastest. Without a certain speed, it was impossible to catch it, especially in such a mountain forest. "What's the big deal about catching 2 pheasants? I often run around by myself, so I'm used to doing these things. I have experience." She smiled as she spoke. She had Shangguan Wanrong go sit on the side while she took care of it herself. Not long after, she lit the branches on fire and then placed the 2 wild pheasants in the fire to roast. She said with a smile, "Martial Uncle, just wait to taste my cooking. How could those seclusion grain pills be as fragrant as this meat?" Hearing this, Shangguan Wanrong smiled lightly and took a branch with pheasants in it from Fengzhou's hands. "I'll help." She looked at the pheasants being roasted in the fire and saw the young man's skilled hands. She couldn't help but ask, "You're so young. How come you often do these things?" Chapter 1447. She was startled and asked, "Why are you running around? You're still young, will your family be able to stop worrying?" Fengzhou's hand that was flipping the pheasant paused. He looked up at her and smiled. "I came to find my mother, and I can protect myself." "Find your mother?" She was slightly surprised and asked, "Then did you find her?" "I found her, she's in the sect." He looked at her as he spoke. Meeting the youth's clear and smiling eyes, Shangwan Wanrong's heart jumped and she inexplicably jumped up. She felt that this youth's words had a deeper meaning, as if there was a layer of gauze shrouding it, making it impossible for people to see clearly. "Then your mother doesn't know that you came to find her? You're in the same sect, but she didn't recognize you." Perhaps because this topic touched her heart, she couldn't help but ask again. Hearing this, Fengzhou smiled and said, "My mother probably thought that I was still at home. My home is very far from here, so she didn't think that I would come. Moreover, she left when I was very young, so it's normal that she didn't recognize me." "Then why did she leave you?" she asked in a daze. "My mother's family didn't allow her to be with my father, so they took her back and locked her up. My father raised me alone, and sometimes my father would hold my mother's things in a daze. I thought that when I had the ability, I would help find my mother." His voice paused, and he looked at Shangwan Wanrong, who was in a daze, and said, "I want to reunite with my family. Martial Uncle Shangwan, tell me, if you were my mother, would you go back with me?" Shangwan Wanrong stared at Fengzhou in a daze, waves of shock and excitement surging in her heart. Her eyes were red, and tears welled up in her eyes. In an instant, thoughts flashed through her mind. String after string of information was connected by her at this moment, as if she didn't dare to believe it, and also felt that it was inconceivable. In the past, she always felt that this youth seemed to like to get close to her. Wherever she appeared, she would appear. The few times they met, she showed her intimacy and joy that was so obvious. He told her that her surname was Feng, and her name was Fengzhou. He told her that he missed his mother. He even ran over to ask her if she would participate in the training in the mystic realm. She even told him that he was only at the foundation establishment stage and couldn't enter the arcane realm. However, he still managed to enter. Not only did he come in, he even came to her side. If she still couldn't figure out this string of matters by now, she would be Shangwan Wanrong in vain. The more she looked at Fengzhou, who was dressed like a teenager, the more she felt that this was a mischievous girl. How could this be a teenager? However, not only did she dress up very well, even her mannerisms and demeanor did not have a trace of a girl's coquettishness. Thinking of how she handled the pheasants neatly and how she said that she often ran outside just to find her mother, her heart tightened. She forced herself to hold back the tears in her eyes. Even if she really wanted to confirm it, even if she really wanted to pull her into her arms and ask her everything, even if she really wanted to hear her call her mother, she held it all back at this moment. Chapter 1448. She also wanted to reunite with her family. However, after so many years had passed, she didn't dare to think about this idea. She had just said that her father always took her mother's things and missed her. So, after so many years, he still hadn't remarried. His memories had clearly been sealed, so how could he recall them? She saw Shangwan Rong's expression and saw her sitting there absent-mindedly. She didn't even react when the pheasant roasted over the fire was slightly charred. Seeing this, she took the branch from her hand and looked at her, asking, "Martial Uncle Shangwan, you still haven't told me. Will my mother come home with me?" Hearing Fengzhou's voice, Shangwan Wanrong came back to her senses. She raised her sleeve to wipe away the tears at the corners of her eyes and adjusted her mind. She suppressed the ups and downs in her heart and stared at her. She will go back with you, but not now." Hearing this, Fengzhou stared at her. When their eyes met, the layer of paper that hadn't been broken seemed to have disappeared in front of them. They had guessed each other's identities, but hadn't recognized each other. After a long time, Fengjiu lowered her eyes. I know. It should be about that 3 Yangzi. In the end, what did that 3 Yangzi want to do? Seeing her lower her eyes and the smile on her face, Shangwan Wanrong hurriedly said, she will definitely go back. When she's done with her matters, she will definitely go back. I promise. And I believe you. She raised her eyes and smiled, nodding. Not long after, the roasted pheasant was cooked. She added some seasoning and handed it to her. Try it. Thank you. Shangwan Wanrong took it and softly thanked her. She tore off a piece and ate it. The two people chatted while eating the roasted pheasant. Perhaps because they had opened their mouths, although they hadn't broken through the layer of paper, the feeling and atmosphere of getting along was a bit different. After eating the roasted pheasant, the two people continued to walk forward. This time, Shangwan Wanrong took the initiative to say, among the 3 herbs my Shizuan asked me to collect, one is red mountain stone iron. This kind of spiritual herb grows in the cracks of the stone walls and can only be found in those steep mountain walls. Later, I'll go halfway up the mountain to take a look. You stay up there and wait. Shi Tying Shanhong. This is an extremely rare elixir. There must be a guardian beast next to such an elixir. Moreover, it's located halfway up the mountain. Most of them are poisonous snakes. As Fengjiu spoke, he frowned. Since we're going to mine the Taiying Red Mountain, then I'll go down and do it. I recognize this spirit medicine. No, it's too dangerous. I'll go down. Don't worry. It's not my first time picking herbs, so I'll be fine. She directly refused. When she reached the top, she took out a thick rope from her space and tied it around her body. I've already prepared everything before I came here. Everything is complete, and I've also taken the antidote beforehand. Hearing her say this, Fengjiu had no choice but to take the rope in her hand and tie it firmly to her body. He said, then be careful. I'll wait for you up there. Tie one side of the rope to the big tree here. As she spoke, she tied the other end of the rope to the big tree next to her. She said, if there's anything, call me or pull the rope. Hearing this, Shangwan Wanrong revealed a gentle and soft smile. I know. You don't have to worry. Wait for me here. You also have to be careful of the surroundings in case there are ferocious beasts. Chapter 1449. No need, I have some. She stuffed it back to her, but she stuffed it back in. Take it. Shangwan Wanrong said. After glancing at her, she turned around and walked to the side. I'm going down. Looking at the pill bottles in her hand, Fengjiu smiled and put them away, and, I'll help you pull the rope. As she said this, she pulled the rope from the side, allowing her to borrow strength to descend. This 10,000 medicine mountain was very high. From the time they circled around to the top, it took them 2 days. She didn't even know where the stone iron red mountain was growing. Because looking up from the bottom of the mountain, there was a layer of fog in the air that blocked their line of sight. Looking down from the top of the mountain was the same. They couldn't see from a distance, so they could only go down and check it out bit by bit. She used a full half an hour to descend with just the rope. When she walked to the edge and looked down, she could no longer see her mother's figure because it was blocked by the fog. I wonder what's down there. It's really too dangerous like this. She softly muttered, feeling a bit uneasy. The stone iron red mountain was a pill that could prolong one's life. It was one of the main ingredients needed to refine the life essence pill. Because it was extremely rare, it was hard to find it at a high price even in the auction house outside. Could it be that 3 Yangzi wanted to use this medicine to refine a pill that could prolong one's life? However, ordinary life essence pills shouldn't have any effect on 3 Yangzi. According to what she knew, 3 Yangzi was already several hundred years old. Just as she was thinking, she suddenly heard rustling sounds. She turned around to look. She didn't know when, but more than 10 monkeys had scuttled out from the tree. They were all squeaking and some even wanted to untie the rope tied to the tree. Scram! Fengjiu sternly shouted. She raised her hand and a wave of pressure attacked those monkeys. Perhaps they were afraid of the ancient divine beast's pressure in her body, but after those monkeys were pushed back several meters, they didn't dare to move forward. Instead, they scattered and fled in all directions. She sat under the big tree with the rope tied to it. She held the rope with one hand and sensed the movement below from the tightness of the rope and the rhythm of its shaking. At the same time, Shengguan Wanrong, who descended, was searching all over the stone wall, and her eyes lit up when she saw a spirit herb growing between the cracks of a stone, causing her expression to be filled with delight. It's Heartwarming Shanhong. Looking at the spirit herb that was 2 meters away from her, she held the rope with both hands and pushed off the mountain wall with her feet. Then, she took a deep breath and used the force of her feet pushing off the mountain wall to swing the rope in that direction. Fengjiu, who was on top of the rope, felt that the rope was shaking violently. He was slightly startled and quickly got up to the side and shouted, "Martial Uncle Shengguan, are you all right?" "It's okay, I found Heartwarming Shanhong." Shengguan Wanrong, who was halfway up the mountain, raised her voice and replied. Her body swayed and came to this side. She just happened to be on the other side of the stone crack, but she didn't immediately approach. There was bound to be a guardian beast next to a top-grade spirit herb like this. If she went forward to pick it, she could lose her life at any time. As a result, she flipped her hand and took out a gold coin and threw it at the stone crack. Only a clang was heard as the coin fell. A black figure scuttled out with a whoosh and bit the gold coin. Chapter 1450. Black gold snake. One drop of its venom can kill a ferocious beast, and the snake's gallbladder is even better. Since I've encountered it, I'll catch it while I'm at it. Shengguan Wanrong softly murmured, her gaze fixed on the small snake that glowed with an oily black light. In the next moment, she first applied the medicine on her hand, then used the strength of the rope to swing forward, instantly grabbing the small snake's head. At the same time, Fengjiu, who was waiting above, faintly heard the sound coming from below. Although the sound drifted in the wind and wasn't clear, knowing that she was down there, he could rest assured. She waited above for about the time it took for a stick of incense to burn before she felt the rope vibrate. Guessing that her mother had already picked the herbs, she hurriedly retracted the rope and pulled her back from below the steep wall. About an hour later, she was pulled up from below. Fengjiu went forward to take a look. Seeing that apart from her clothes being rubbed and dirty, there were no wounds, he secretly let out a sigh of relief. "Are you okay? Did you pick the herbs?" Fengjiu asked while helping her untie the rope. "I picked them. Look, this is the stone tying shanhong, one of the essential main ingredients for refining the life essence pill." Shengguan Wanrong lightly smiled and took out the spiritual herb she picked to show Fengjiu, then said, "I also caught the stone tying shanhong's guardian snake. It's a black gold snake." Hearing this, Fengjiu was startled and his heart jumped. The black gold snake is highly venomous, and its reaction is extremely fast. "You weren't bitten, right?" "No, it's fast. My speed is faster than it." She smiled as she put away the spiritual herb, patted her clothes, and said, "I still need 2 more herbs to find them." Hearing this, Fengjiu said, "What are those 2 herbs? I can help you find them." Hearing this, Shengguan Wanrong slightly smiled. "Although you're quite familiar with spiritual herbs and have been delivering spiritual herbs on the peak for some time, those herbs are extremely rare even in the sect. Even if you see them, you won't necessarily recognize them. Because those 3 herbs were something she had never seen before. If you don't tell me, how do you know I won't recognize them?" She smiled slyly and looked at her with a pair of smiling eyes, proudly saying, "I'm very powerful, there's no spiritual herb that I don't recognize." "Oh." Shangguan Wanrong heard this and asked, "So, you've really learned it?" "And I've learned it." Fengjiu nodded. She was very confident. She was. However, judging from the current situation, although the stone iron echoing mountain red was one of the essential herbs for the life essence pill, it was just that. She didn't know how many other herbs were needed. Even she didn't know what kind of pill the final pill would be, but she was sure that it had something to do with the life essence pill. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanrong glanced at her and took out a folded piece of paper from her space. "These are the 3 herbs I'm looking for." Fengjiu took it and opened it. She saw 3 spiritual herbs drawn on the white paper with their names and growth habits. The first one was the freshly picked stone tying shanhong. The second is the flower of longevity, and the third is the 7-leaf grass. Chapter 1451. Yes, it's these 3 herbs. Speaking of which, I've been practicing alchemy for so long, but this is the first time I've seen these 3 herbs. If my master hadn't marked out the growth habits of these herbs, it would have been really difficult to find these 3 herbs in this huge mountain of 1,000 herbs. Speaking of this, she smiled. But it's okay, I finally found the first one. Then, does Marshall Uncle know the medicinal properties of the longevity flower and the 7-leaf variant grass? Fengjiu looked at her and asked. I once heard that Master 3 Yangzi once suffered a fatal internal injury. In recent years, his internal injury has worsened, and he doesn't have much time left. And this stone iron reflection mountain red is a necessary ingredient to refine the life essence pill. I guess the other 2 ingredients should also be used to refine the life essence pill. He probably wants to use these pills to refine a pill that can cure his internal injuries and prolong his life. Her voice paused and she hesitated. But, after all, my cultivation in alchemy is far inferior to his. Even if I know these 3 herbs, I don't know what kind of vitality pill he wants to refine. Marshal Uncle Duan told Marshal Uncle not to collect these herbs, otherwise, you'll lose your life. Marshal Uncle, have you never thought that perhaps, in addition to these pills, the Peak Master might want your life? Fengjiu directly pointed out the most important point. But, even she didn't know why it was her mother. Could it be that there was something on her mother that 3 Yangzi wanted? She always had a feeling that something was wrong when 3 Yangzi took her as his last disciple and brought her into the sect, but didn't hold the apprenticeship ceremony and didn't allow her to go down the mountain. It was as if he was afraid that she would escape. Shangguan Wanrong's eyes flashed slightly, and she smiled. Don't worry, I'll pay attention to this. We can't find the answer here. We'll only know when we return to the peak. Okay. Fengjiu responded and went to find the other 2 spiritual herbs with her. In his mind, he was thinking about what kind of pill would be formed when these 3 herbs were mixed and refined. A few days later, Chen Dao and the others finished concocting a batch of pills, then went looking for more spirit ingredients. Actually, we should go to the 10,000 Medicine Mountain. There are precious spirit medicines there. Unfortunately. An alchemist said. His eyes were filled with yearning and fear. There were a lot of spirit herbs in that place, but there were also a lot of dangers. For alchemists like them who only cultivated spirit energy and not battle prowess, the strength of a gold core cultivator was not even comparable to the battle prowess of a foundation establishment cultivator. With such battle prowess, it was hard to say when they would die inside. However, when they thought of the spiritual herbs on the 10,000 Medicine Mountain, their hearts itched unbearably. Just think about it. Whatever you do, you have to do it within your capabilities. Don't compare yourself with others. We don't have that kind of strength. Chen Dao glanced at them and said. He leaned against the tree and drank some water to moisten his throat. Just as he was about to relax and take a nap, he felt the ground tremble slightly, as if something was running towards them. What was that sound? Someone asked in shock. He hurriedly laid down on the ground to listen for any movement. Once he heard it, the sound that sounded like 10,000 horses galloping caused his expression to change. It sounds like a beast tied. What? A beast tied? When everyone heard this, they stood up with pale faces. Even Qingdao and Luo Heng's faces were full of shock and astonishment. Seeing that everyone was still in a daze, Qingdao immediately shouted, "Run! What are you waiting for?" Chapter 1452. Everyone reacted and quickly fled with Qingdao. However, right behind them, a cacophony of sounds like 10,000 horses galloping could be heard. The loud bangs were accompanied by the sounds of trees being knocked down and the roars and roars of ferocious beasts and spirit beasts. The sounds echoed in the forest. A slower alchemist was hit by a ferocious beast and flew into the air. He screamed and fell into the herd of beasts, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Hiss! Looking back, Qingdao and the rest were stunned. They sucked in a cold breath but did not dare to slow down. Run! Quick! Fly on your swords! Seeing tens of thousands of beasts surging towards them from behind, they all jumped onto their flying swords and changed to flying swords. However, because the trees in the forest were messy and there was a restriction in the sky, the height that they could fly was also limited. Under this kind of situation, they had to avoid the trees in front of them and also had to quickly escape for their lives. To these pill masters, they were already panicking. Ah! A cry of alarm was heard. A flying alchemist crashed into a tree and fell to the ground. He rolled and crawled as he cried for help. Save me, save me. The others did not even care about running for their lives. Why would they save him? They only glanced downwards in panic before abandoning the place. Qingdao saw this and gritted his teeth. He turned back and rushed towards that person. Senior brother Qin, do you want to die? Luo Heng shouted. He found it unbelievable that Qingdao was going to save that person. You go first. Qingdao said without turning back. He turned back on his sword and reached out to pull up the alchemist who could not stand up due to fear. Get up quickly. The alchemist was so shocked that his face turned pale. His body was trembling, and he was terrified. He tried to stand up, but he couldn't. Qingdao even pulled him up onto the flying sword, but he couldn't stand up and fell down again. Get up quickly. Quick! Qingdao shouted and pulled him up again. Seeing this, Luo Heng struggled in his heart. He gritted his teeth and said, so be it. He also turned back and took out his sword. He injected spiritual energy into it and attacked the incoming ferocious beasts, trying to buy more time for Qingdao to save the alchemist. After a few breaths, Qingdao finally brought the alchemist up onto his flying sword. He shouted at Luo Heng, let's go quickly. As a result, the two of them quickly caught up with the person in front of them on their flying swords. Behind Qingdao stood the alchemist he had saved. However, the beast tide was not only the ferocious beasts, there were also ferocious beasts and spiritual beasts in the air. It was as if something was chasing them from behind. Be careful. It's a red-billed blood eagle. When Qingdao saw the group of red-billed blood eagles in front of him, he wanted to slow down and avoid them. Who would have thought that a lone red-billed blood eagle would attack them from behind? Luo Heng let out a low cry and quickly dodged. Just as Qingdao was about to dodge, he suddenly felt someone grab his robe from behind and push him in the direction of the red-billed blood eagle. Ah! I don't want to die. Chapter 1453. Ah! Qingdao cried out in alarm. Due to the force coming from behind him, he was unable to stop himself from falling forward. He saw the red-billed blood eagle raise its sharp beak and fiercely peck at his lumbar vertebrae as he fell forward. In an instant, his face turned pale as a heart-wrenching pain assaulted him. He could only hear the sound of his bones breaking. It was so crisp and clear that it was transmitted into his mind. Immediately after, he was stepped on by the red-billed blood eagle and fell from the sky. Before he fell unconscious, he seemed to have heard Luo Heng's shocked and angry cry. Senior brother Chin. Luo Heng angrily cried out in alarm. Looking at the person who was fleeing on Qin Dao's flying sword, he fiercely cursed, "Bastard." Just as he cursed, he saw the red-billed blood eagle chase after that person. Not long after, that alchemist let out a blood-curdling scream as his entire head was pecked off by the red-billed blood eagle. In an instant, fresh blood splattered in the air and filled the air. Serves you right to die a horrible death. He cursed angrily and turned around to look for Qin Dao. However, what he saw was that Qin Dao had fallen into a small ditch in the forest. Although he had avoided the miserable fate of being trampled by tens of thousands of beasts, his heart still sank when he saw Qin Dao lying there motionless and covered in blood. He seemed to have heard the sound of him being pecked by the blood eagle's beak. Where exactly was he hurt? He didn't dare to go down because all he could see were beasts. If he went down, he would definitely be trampled flat. Fortunately, those beasts ran past and didn't stop. After those beasts ran past, he looked around to make sure that there was no danger before going down. Senior brother Qin. Senior brother Qin. Among so many people, Qin Dao was the most righteous person. Even if he was greedy for life and afraid of death, he couldn't bear to see such a person abandoned here. He had clearly saved someone, but that person turned around and repaid his kindness with enmity and pushed him to his death. Human nature was selfish, but when he saw it with his own eyes and experienced it for himself, he realized that that kind of selfishness could chill one's heart. He wanted to help Qin Dao up from the ravine, but the ravine was only wide enough for a person and half a meter deep. It would take a lot of effort to help him up. Moreover, he was afraid that if he carelessly helped him up, it would worsen his injuries. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Senior brother Qin. Senior brother Qin. He shouted from the side. Seeing that this was not a solution, he could only fly to the top of the trench on his flying sword. He squatted down and pulled him out from the trench by his robes and placed him aside. This method was similar to hanging him up. Even if his bones were dislocated, he shouldn't move too much. Putting away his flying sword, he quickly examined him, especially the lumbar vertebrae that he had heard the sound of cracking. When his hand touched the lumbar vertebrae, his heart turned cold, as if it had sunk to the bottom of a valley. Those who knew alchemy more or less knew some medical skills. With this examination, he found out that other than the internal injuries he suffered when he was trampled by the blood eagle, the most serious injury was the lumbar vertebrae. Everyone knew how important the lumbar vertebrae were. It was the support point for a person to stand up. But now, this support point was actually. Chapter 1454. Senior brother Qin, I can only stabilize your internal injuries first. As for your lumbar spine, we can only wait until we return to the sect to ask someone to treat it. Luo Heng sighed and said, Fortunately, it won't be long before we leave. Otherwise, your injuries would still. It's really worrying. At the same time, on the top of the mountain of 1,000 medicine, Shengwan Wanrong and Fingzhou, who had already collected the 3 spiritual herbs they needed, were heading down the mountain. When they were on the mountain, they heard a loud bang below. For some reason, the entire forest seemed to shake and a wave of beasts surged. The ferocious beasts and spiritual beasts in the depths of the forest roared and rushed to the periphery. Some also came up the mountain. Looking at the strange phenomenon, the two of them were very puzzled. Why would a beast tide suddenly appear? And those ferocious beasts seemed to be running away from something. And that loud bang, what on earth was going on? Did that sound like the sound of an exploding pill furnace? Shengwan Wanrong asked. As soon as she spoke, she came back to her senses and chuckled, Yes, you don't know how to refine pills. How would you know what the sound of an exploding pill furnace is? Hearing this, Fingzhou smiled and narrowed her eyes, saying, I know how to refine pills. It's just that I didn't refine pills in the sect. I'm very familiar with the sound of an exploding pill furnace because I've also broken many furnaces. That sound just now was the sound of an exploding pill furnace. Someone should be refining pills below. But who would refine pills below the mountain of 1,000 medicine? Eldest senior brother and the others definitely wouldn't. Could it be someone from another peak? She murmured with a trace of doubt on her face. After walking down for a while, perhaps the smell of medicine in the air was diffusing with the wind. Fengzhou, who was walking beside Shangwan Wanrong, stopped and looked down. This smell of medicine. What's wrong? Shangwan Wanrong saw her stop and asked. The smell of medicine in the air is poisonous. Fengzhou said slowly, squinting and looking down. Sure enough, someone is refining pills below. And I'm afraid it's a poisonous pill. To be able to make so many ferocious beasts rush out, this poison is very unusual and extremely overbearing. Poison. Shangwan Wanrong was startled, her expression strange. You know it's poisonous just by smelling it. She sniffed and said, the smell of medicine in the air has already dispersed. It's very faint, and even I can't tell what kind of poison is in it. As she spoke, she was a little worried, so she took out a pill and gave it to her. This is an antidote pill that I refined. Take one. Even if it's not poisonous, you'll be fine. Of course, because I'm not only an alchemist, I'm also a doctor. Fengzhou chuckled, he seemed to be in a good mood. You can keep this. I'm already immune to poison, so there's no need to call it an antidote pill. Ordinary poisons won't affect me. Shangwan Wanrong listened and looked at her in a daze. Ordinary poisons couldn't harm her. Was this for real? Could it be that she was also in danger over there? Someone often poisoned her. So much so that she was now immune to poison. Let's go. Let's go down and take a look. Maybe that person hasn't gone far. Chapter 1455. When they came down to search, they found a place in the dense forest at the foot of the mountain. There were traces of a barrier that had been set up before being removed. In that place, the aura in the air had not completely dissipated, and the smell of medicine was much stronger than in other places in the forest. It's here. Fengzhou said and walked in to take a look. She saw that there were traces of a pill furnace exploding on the ground. The fragments of the pill furnace had already been cleaned up. Aside from the traces on the ground, there were no other fragments to be seen. Even the person refining the pill was not seen. She slowly walked inside and looked around. When her foot stepped on a piece of metal inserted into the soil, she stopped and squatted down to take a look. A fragment of the pill furnace was half buried in the sand. When she took it out to take a look, there were still some residual medicinal dregs on the fragment. This person should have wanted to refine a 5th-tier pill or above. However, the pill furnace couldn't withstand it and exploded. Look. She handed the pill furnace to her mother. There are still medicinal dregs on it. From the medicinal dregs, you can tell that it was a 5th-tier pill or above. However, he failed. Shangwan Wanrong took the fragment and carefully looked at it. When her gaze fell on the vein patterns on the fragment, her eyes involuntarily shrank and a trace of fear flashed through her eyes. Seeing her expression, Fengzhou's eyes flashed and asked, Martial Aunt, do you recognize this pill furnace fragment? No, I don't recognize it. Shangwan Wanrong shook her head. She held the fragment of the pill furnace tightly in her hand. She seemed to be lost in thought. Seeing this, Fengzhou didn't ask any more questions. After looking around for a while, she said, this person should have already left. Let's go too. It could be guessed that her mother recognized the fragment of the pill furnace. She should know who was refining the pill here. Since she didn't want to say, then she wouldn't ask. And, let's go outside. She put away the fragment and collected her expression. She walked outside with Fengzhou. Not long after the two left, a figure walked out of a cave halfway up the mountain. He stood there and watched the two leave. After a long time, he turned around and entered the cave. When the two of them were heading outside, they met Duanmu who was heading inside. "Junior sister, are you all right?" When Duanmu saw the two of them, he stepped forward and naturally ignored Fingzhou. His concerned gaze landed on Shengwanwanrong. Fengzhou coughed lightly when she saw this, and she didn't wait for her mother to speak before she smiled and said, "Martial Uncle Duan, you really care about us. But there's no need to worry, Martial Uncle Shengwan and I are fine." Since her father wasn't here, she would chase away the wild bees and butterflies by her mother's side. Upon hearing Fingzhou's words, Duanmu glanced at him and said in a deep voice, "Why are you interrupting when the elders are talking? Go to the side and stay there." In his heart, he felt that this little handyman was too insensible. His unhappy gaze retracted from Fingzhou and landed on Shengwanwanrong. "I don't know why, but there was a beast tide in this mystic realm. Fortunately, it has already calmed down. Now that I see that you're fine, I'm relieved." "I've made senior brother worry," Shengwanwanrong said, glancing at Fingzhou and smiling at him. Chapter 1456. Eldest senior brother, are you done with your work? Shengwanwanrong looked at Duanmu and asked. "Yes, it's done. Because of the beast tide, many people have rushed to the periphery to gather. I saw that you weren't around, so I came over to take a look." As he spoke, he glanced at Fingzhou and said, "Since there's nothing else, then follow me to the periphery." "All right, we're going to the periphery as well," Shengwanwanrong said and gestured to Fingzhou, and the two of them walked forward together. Duanmu, who was following behind, saw this and could not help but feel that it was strange. Why did junior sister treat this odd-job worker so differently? The intimacy in their actions and the change in their expressions, it seemed like something had happened between the two of them. When he thought of this, his expression became strange, and he suppressed the doubts in his heart as they walked out together. However, 2 days later, the time for the transportation was up. Before they could reach the periphery, a vortex appeared in mid-air and sucked them in one by one. As long as the alchemists were still alive in the mystic realm, they would all be transported out. As for those who were dead, they would be buried in this mystic realm forever. When Fengzhou, Shengwanwanrong, and Duanmu were transported out, they appeared at the foot of Three Yang Peak. "I'm going to see Master, you guys go back first," she said to Fengzhou and Duanmu. Fengzhou was silent when he heard this. He did not have the right to go to the 9th peak, so he did not say anything and only looked at her. Duanmu paused for a moment when he heard this, then said, "I'm going to see Master too, I'll go with you." Shengwanwanrong nodded when she saw this. "All right." Then, she looked at Fengzhou. "You go back and rest first." "All right," Fengzhou replied, and his eyes flashed as he watched the two of them turn around and leave. As they walked up the mountain, Duanmu could not help but ask, "Junior sister, this Fengzhou seems to be to your liking. I see that you seem to treat him more warmly than others." Shengwanwanrong smiled when she heard this, and her eyes were filled with joy and gentleness. "That's right. This child is really obedient." Seeing the gentle smile on her face, his heart trembled slightly. After pausing for a moment, he changed the topic and asked, "That's right, you gave those 3 medicines to Shizhuan. It's best if you don't go see Shizhuan alone for the time being." Hearing this, the smile on Shengwanwanrong's face faded. She tilted her head slightly to look at Duanmu and stopped to ask, "Eldest senior brother, do you know something? Are you really not going to tell me?" Duanmu sighed. "It's not that I don't want to tell you, but I don't know where to start, and I don't even know how to tell you." He shook his head and said, "I only hope that you will be more cautious when you return to the peak and pay more attention." "Okay, I got it," she replied and continued walking. Duan Mubai glanced at her and followed beside her, saying, "If you want to see Master in the future, just call me along." Shangguan Wanrong smiled and did not reply. Instead, she looked at the entrance of the 9th summit and asked with sparkling eyes, "Eldest senior brother, what do you think Master is doing right now? Will he be in the summit?" "Master often goes into seclusion to refine pills and rarely goes out. If he's not in the summit, where would he be?" He looked at her with slight surprise, feeling that her question was a bit strange. Chapter 1457. The Peak Master has ordered that aside from Shangguan Wanrong, no one else is allowed to enter without being summoned. As the two nascent soul cultivators spoke, they stopped Duan Mubai, who was about to step inside. Hearing this, Shangguan Wanrong, who was in front, stopped and looked back. Duan Mubai frowned. "What's the reason? If Junior Marshall's sister can go in, why can't I?" "You go in and report that I have something to see Master. We are only responsible for carrying out the Peak Master's orders. You can wait here, but you can't go in." As the two nascent soul cultivators spoke, they were expressionless and refused to let him go. Shangguan Wanrong smiled when she saw this. "Eldest senior brother, it's fine. I'll come out after I see Master. You can go back first." As she spoke, she nodded slightly to him before moving to walk into the room. The moment she turned around, the smile on her face gradually disappeared and she looked thoughtful. Seeing this, Duan Mubai's face darkened. Facing the two nascent soul cultivators guarding him, he couldn't force his way in and could only wait outside. On the other side, when Shangguan Wanrong arrived outside the bamboo house, she couldn't help but stop. Just as she was hesitating, she heard her master's voice from inside. "Since you're here, why don't you come in?" Three Yangtze's old and low voice came from the bamboo house, pulling Shangguan Wanrong's thoughts back. She adjusted her mind, then pushed the door open and walked in. "Master." She looked at the figure sitting there and respectfully bowed. Then she took out the 3 best quality herbs from her space and said, "Master, this disciple has completed the task. The 3 herbs are all here. Master, please take a look." 3 Yangtze turned around and looked at her with a dignified expression on his aged face. He stroked his beard with one hand and checked the 3 elixirs on the table. "And the roots are intact and properly preserved." "Very good." He nodded in satisfaction, and after seeing the 3 elixirs on the table, his stern face finally softened. His gaze paused on Shangguan Wanrong for a while before he asked, "You haven't broken through your skills yet? You shouldn't have stayed at the Golden Core stage for so long. Didn't you take the medicinal pills that Master gave you to help you improve your strength?" "I haven't had the time to eat since I entered the mystic realm." She lowered her eyes and said, "Then put aside all the matters at hand and increase your strength first. When you enter the nascent soul stage, I have something very important for you to do." He put the pill away and then took out another bottle of pills. "Take this. Take 1 pill every 10 days. It can increase your strength to the nascent soul stage in 3 months. Within 3 months. She was slightly startled. Isn't this advancement speed a little too fast? If that's the case, I'm afraid that my foundation will be unstable, and it will be difficult for me to advance in the future. There's no need for that. This is a medicinal pill that I've personally refined for you. It's only beneficial to your body. Don't worry." He waved his hand and said, "Also, you can't tell your senior martial brothers about this. Otherwise, they will say that I'm biased towards you. Remember my words. Within 3 months, you must become a nascent soul cultivator." Hearing this, her eyes flashed and she asked, "But what if I can't break through in 3 months and become a nascent soul cultivator?" Chapter 1458. You won't be able to enter within 3 months. 3 Yangtze looked at her and suddenly laughed. "You've been here for some time now. Have you heard of a place called the Wasteland of Extreme Evil? He paused and laughed. Perhaps you haven't heard of it, but it's all right. I can tell you that the Wasteland of Extreme Evil is just like its name. It's a place where evil people gather. They eat human flesh, drink human blood, and commit all kinds of evil deeds. Only powerful people can protect their lives there. I think that it's also the best place for people to train. I believe that under such harsh living conditions, a person's potential can be stimulated, and entering the nascent soul stage will be very easy. What do you think? Hearing those words, Shangguan Wanrong could not help but shiver. She looked at the strange and dangerous expression on her master's face, who was clearly smiling, but the smile did not reach his eyes. That gaze and that smile gave her an extremely frightening and dangerous feeling. She could not help but take a step back and maintain some distance from him. I understand. Don't worry, Master. I will advance to the nascent soul stage within 3 months. I will definitely not disappoint Master's expectations of me. She steadied her mind and bowed. If Master doesn't have any other instructions, I'll take my leave first. Go. He nodded in satisfaction and gestured for her to leave. Shangguan Wanrong walked out and closed the door behind her. She felt her heart tremble and a chill run up from the soles of her feet. Now, she was very sure that her master wanted her life. However, she didn't know why. Why did he want her life? What use did her life have to him? Why did he have to wait until she entered the nascent soul stage and became a nascent soul cultivator? She walked out of the 9th peak in a daze as she thought about it. She only regained her senses when she heard Duan Mubai's voice. Junior sister, are you all right? Duan Mubai walked up to her. He couldn't help but worry when he saw her dazed expression. I'm fine. What could happen if I went to Master's place? She looked up at him and shook her head with a smile. Eldest senior brother, I'll take my leave first. With that, she walked past him and returned to her cave abode. Watching her leave, Duan Mubai wanted to call her back and ask her what Master had said to her after she went in. However, as he watched her walk away, he opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. Even if he suspected that his master would do something bad to her, nothing had happened. As a disciple, how could he ask such a question? Sighing softly, he shook his head and followed her down the mountain. On the other side, when Fengjiu returned to her cave abode, she saw Green Hair, who had gained a lot of weight, pouncing on her. Seeing Green Hair, she was a little surprised. So you're here. I was wondering why I didn't see you when I entered the secret realm. So you can't get in. She chuckled. Since she hadn't bathed yet, she directly sat down at the entrance of the cave. She hugged Green Hair in her arms and stroked its egg. Puzzled, she asked, when are you planning to lay this egg? Normally, eggs can't be carried for so long, right? Kakik. Green Hair raised its head and cackled, flapping its wings and saying something. Seeing this, Fengjiu's eyes turned. Should she take out a speech-opening pill and let Green Hair eat it? Chapter 1459. She stroked Green Hair's round body and touched the egg under its belly. She thought, my mother should be fine if she goes to 3 Yangzi's place in 3 Yangzi's. No matter what, 3 Yangzi wouldn't let himself be labeled as a person who murdered his disciple. Even if he wanted to make a move on my mother, he would probably do it in private. However, under such circumstances, her mother was only a gold core cultivator. She was not at ease dealing with the 3 Yangzi. If she could send her away first and go to Ling Shuang and the others, perhaps it would be easier for her to deal with the remaining matters. Moreover, only when her mother left this place and was safe would she be able to do what she wanted to do without worry. She sat there, deep in thought. The green-furred cat in her arms was pressed down by her. It couldn't even straighten its head, so it could only lie quietly in her arms. After a long time, Fengjiu stood up. She let go of green hair and went into the cave. She planned to rest for a while and bathe in the evening when there was no one around. In this place, bathing was not very convenient for her. There was no bathroom in the cave. She could only bathe in the middle of the night when there was no one around. However, when it was about evening, she was still resting in the cave when she heard Luo Heng's voice from outside. Fengzhou. Fengzhou. Luo Heng shouted outside and asked worriedly, "Are you still alive?" Hearing this, she jumped out of bed. She put on her coat and walked out angrily. When she saw the person shouting outside, she said, "What do you mean I'm still alive? Could it be that the person you see now is not me, but a ghost?" He paused for a moment and waved his hand. No, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to see if you're still alive." Luo Heng then asked, "Didn't you encounter the beast tide at that time? You were in the depths. How could you not be injured at all?" Fengzhou nodded and said, "I encountered it. I was at the top of the mountain and saw thousands of beasts running out from below." "Oh right, where's senior brother Qin? Is he okay?" Hearing this, the smile on Luo Heng's face disappeared. "Senior brother Qin, he... What happened to him?" Seeing his strange expression, although he tried his best to hide it, he was still caught by her. "What happened to him? Tell me," Fengzhou urged. Her heart sank as she thought to herself, could it be that Qindao is dead? If he encountered a beast tide, the death rate would be unusually low. Seeing that Fengzhou kept asking, Luo Heng sighed and told him in detail what had happened at that time. "After I brought him back, I asked the people in the peak to treat him. However, they only knew how to refine pills and could not fix his bones. There was even a doctor and an alchemist who said that senior brother Qindao might not be able to stand up again in this lifetime because his spine was injured. Moreover, they said that he had already missed the best time to treat him." Fengzhou frowned. "Where is he now? I'll go see him. I just sent him back to the cave, but he's very agitated. He can't accept the fact that he'll never be able to stand up. He's smashing things in the cave and won't listen to me. I think it's better if you don't go, in case you get injured." Chapter 1460. Fengzhou's eyes flickered. He didn't say anything else as he walked towards Qindao's abode. Qindao had helped her a lot on Sanyang Peak. If he really couldn't stand up, then not to mention that he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences, even she wouldn't allow such a situation to occur. "Hey, Fengzhou, what are you going to do?" Luo Heng couldn't help but say when he saw her leave, "You don't have to go to Qindao's abode. He won't see anyone right now, so it's pointless for anyone to go." "How would I know if it's pointless if I don't take a look? What's the point of going there?" "You don't know this, but the Grand Elder went to take a look after Qindao was in trouble. Qindao is related to the Grand Elder in some way." After seeing Qindao's condition, the Grand Elder only said one thing, and that was the greatest blow. Her footsteps paused when she heard this, and she asked, "What did he say?" Luo Heng stopped as well and said, after the Grand Elder asked a few doctors and alchemists to take a look at Qindao's condition, he found out that Qindao's spine was heavily injured and wouldn't be able to stand for the rest of his life. He said that he would notify the clansmen to take him back so that Qindao could retire to the Qin clan. He sighed when he spoke up to this point. "Tell me, if Qindao is really sent back to the clan like this, then how would he retire? He's clearly going back to await death, but what can he do now? Even the Grand Elder has given up on him." Moreover, once news of this spread, some of the people who were on good terms with him distanced themselves from him. They didn't even look at him after returning from the secret realm. Thinking back to when he was at his peak, those people were all calling him Senior Brother Qin, begging him to give them pointers on the Tao of alchemy or to exchange pills. Now, those people are all avoiding him. I'm the only one who still has a conscience. Fengzhou's expression was indifferent when he heard this, and he said, "There are many who add flowers to embroidery, but few who offer help in times of need. That's human nature. With that, he continued walking forward. But you won't be of much use even if you go. You're just a lowly odd-job worker. You don't know how to refine pills, and you don't know how to use medicine. If you go, you'll only make him sad. Along the way, Luo Heng kept chattering like a little sparrow. Feng Zhou could not stand it anymore and glared at him. Are you done? Haven't you had enough? It's your business if you don't want to go, but it's my business if I go. Why do you keep stopping me? Luo Heng was taken aback by the scolding. He looked at Feng Zhou, who had stopped in his tracks and continued walking forward after shouting at him. He scratched his head in a daze. This brat, he gave me a fright. Doesn't he know that he's just an errand boy? Why are you speaking so loudly? Are you trying to scare me to death? In front of Qin Dao's cave, Feng Zhou stopped and looked at the cave that was protected by a boundary. She sighed softly in her heart. She still remembered that when they were going to enter the secret realm, he had given her a jade pendant. A jade pendant that allowed her to freely enter and exit his cave. She did not expect that the jade pendant would come in handy like this in the end. Just as she was about to walk in, Luo Heng grabbed her arm. Are you stupid? Don't you see the boundary? If he doesn't open it, we can't go in. After I sent him back, I came back a few times, but I could only shout from outside and follow the Grand Elder in a few times. Chapter 1461. Luo Heng was startled. He watched as Feng Zhou walked forward. When he passed by the boundary disappeared. Luo Heng couldn't help but follow closely behind him. Why didn't you tell me earlier that you had this thing? You made me come here for nothing. He couldn't help but complain. However, when he entered the cave and felt the dead silence, he couldn't help but shut his noisy mouth. Feng Zhou looked at the things that were scattered all over the floor. In addition to some commonly used items, there were also some elixirs and the like. When she passed by the alchemy room, she saw that the shelves where the herbs were placed were also scattered all over the floor. She stopped and asked in a low voice, "He can't get up. Why are the things here so messy? Even the spiritual herbs are scattered all over the floor. Don't you know? Didn't he get injured in the secret realm? When he came back, he was conscious. After he was sent back, he started to struggle. He smashed everything within his reach. I reckon that after we left, he smashed everything and even the shelves in the alchemy room." As he spoke, he poked his head inside and said in a low voice, "Why is it so quiet? Could something have happened to him?" Hearing this, Feng Zhou quickly walked inside. When she arrived at his bedroom, she saw Qin Dao lying on the floor. His forehead was bleeding and he had fainted. Seeing this, Feng Zhou's heart sank. She quickly walked forward and said, "Quick, help him onto the bed." Oh. Luo Heng seemed to be frightened. He hurriedly responded and helped Feng Zhou carry Qin Dao onto the bed. He hurriedly ran out and shouted, "I'll get a doctor." Feng Zhou didn't even have time to say anything. Luo Heng opened the boundary formation of the cave and rushed outside. Seeing this, she could only check Qin Dao's body. She first checked his pulse and found that his internal injuries had not completely healed. Just as Luo Heng said, the most serious injury was his lumbar spine. She took out a pill from the space and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, she used her spiritual power to help him digest the pill and treat the wound on his forehead. After about an incense stick of time, he slowly woke up. "Senior brother Qin, it's me. Feng Zhou, how are you feeling now?" she asked slowly. Seeing that his eyes were still, she couldn't help but say, "Don't worry, your lumbar spine is fine. As long as it's healed, you'll be fine." She was telling the truth. However, to Qin Dao, it sounded like Feng Zhou was comforting him. Hence, he remained expressionless and muttered, "I'm a useless person. I'm useless. What's the point of living? Senior brother Chin, how can you give up on yourself? It's just 2 broken bones. What's the big deal? It's just that the broken bones will be fine once they are reconnected. It's not a big deal. Go. I know my own condition. He stared blankly at the ceiling of the cave and muttered in a daze, I never thought that I, Chin Dao, would have a day like this. Living like this is worse than death. Seeing this, she had no choice but to continue, Senior brother Chin, I don't have anything else, but I have an ointment passed down in my family to heal broken bones. Don't worry, your injuries will recover in 3 months. Chapter 1462. I appreciate your kindness, Chin Dao said indifferently. Chin Dao said indifferently. He could no longer find the arrogance and confidence he had in the past. There was only deathly stillness and despair. After experiencing such a thing, if he could only lie in bed as a cripple for the rest of his life, how could he accept it? Maybe he had never thought that he would encounter such a thing. It was completely out of his expectations, and he did not know what to do. Senior sect brother Chin, you have helped me many times since I entered the sect. Now that you have encountered such a thing, let me help you. She said softly, don't be in a hurry to refuse. Just try for a while. Really, please believe me. The sect's doctors and pill masters have all said they cannot cure me. How can you help me? Fengzhou, don't waste your efforts. It is useless. How do you know it is useless if you don't try? There are many things in life that can only be known after trying. Even if others tell you it is useless, even if others extinguish the flame of your hope, you should not let the flame of hope in your heart be extinguished. Hearing this, Chin Dao stared blankly at him. Do I still have that hope? You do not know. A disciple of the same peak, a disciple who always called me senior sect brother, I saved him, but he pushed me to my death. I know that human nature is selfish. However, I never thought that a person I saved would push me to my death instead of helping me when I was on the brink of death. Ha 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 ha. I deserve it. I deserve it. I saved someone I should not have saved. I deserve it. Seeing him shout emotionally, sometimes crying and sometimes laughing crazily, Fengzhou went forward and pressed him down. Senior sect brother Chin, you did not do anything wrong. The fault does not lie with you. The heavens will not let you lie in bed and be unable to stand. Get out. Get out. Get out. He shouted, tears seeping out of the corners of his eyes. He tried to push Fengzhou away, but in the next moment, the person who had been shouting hysterically quieted and fell asleep. Rest. Leave the rest to me. Fengzhou put away the silver needles in his hand and looked at the unconscious man. Just as he was about to remove his clothes, he heard Luo Heng's angry scolding from outside. Too snobbish. Each and every one of them was too outrageous. Why didn't they think about how they used to act when they saw senior brother Chin? Now that they saw him like this, they even wanted to hit him while he was down. This is outrageous. Fengzhou turned around and looked at the person who walked in. He asked, what's wrong? Didn't you say you were going to get a doctor? Why did you come back by yourself? Those people are too outrageous. He rushed forward angrily and said, I went to find a doctor, but none of them confirmed it. All of them said that there was no way. They didn't even want to come over and take a look. They are really not snobbish. Hearing that, Fengzhou smiled. It's fine. It's good that they don't come. It's good that you're here. What do you mean? Luo Heng asked. I don't know anything about medicine. I can't save senior brother Chin. You don't need to save him. Just help me take off his clothes and support him. I'll do the orthopedic. As long as I correct the dislocated bones and bandage them with my secret ointment, he can get out of bed and walk around on his own in less than 3 months. Chapter 1463. Fengjiu smiled. So will you help? Or not? If you don't help, I'll do it myself. Hearing this, Luo Heng frowned. Are you serious? Of course. Do you think I'm joking? She looked at him and said, didn't you say it yourself? Those doctors and alchemists all said that he can't be saved and can only lie in bed for the rest of his life. Since that's the case, if you really want him to be well, why don't you trust me this time? Seeing Fengjiu's serious expression, Luo Heng thought for a moment before taking off Qindao's shirt. He asked, do you want me to take off his pants? There's no need for pants. You just need to pull his pants down a little. Fengjiu took off her boots and walked onto the bed. She pointed and said, turn his body halfway over and support him. Oh. Luo Heng could only do as he said. He supported the half-naked Qindao and let him sleep on his side. Seeing that he didn't wake up for a long time, he asked, what did you do to him? I pricked him with a needle. Don't worry, he'll be fine. Fengjiu squatted down, holding Qindao's sleeping arm with one hand and carefully feeling his spine with the other. His hand went from top to bottom to his lumbar spine and felt that it was dislocated. It was because of the dislocation of the lumbar spine that Qindao was paralyzed on the bed. How is it? Luo Heng saw that he didn't do anything after touching for a while and couldn't help asking. We have to operate on him. She said slowly, in addition to the dislocation of his lumbar spine, there are also bone fragments inside. We have to clean them up. She jumped off the bed, put on her boots, and walked out. Hey, where are you going? Wait for me. I'll get a basin of water. Fengjiu didn't look back. He went into the bathroom to get a basin of water and prepared the things he needed before returning to the bedroom. Let him lie on his back. Come and help me, Fengjiu said. He took out knives, tweezers, silver needles, and medicine. Luo Heng looked at the glinting sharp knives and couldn't help but shudder. What are you trying to do? Didn't I just say it? His injury is on his lumbar spine. As long as the bones are corrected and the broken bones are cleaned up, he will recover, she said without raising her head. After washing her hands, she said, don't make a fuss when I'm operating. If I sweat, remember to use a clean cloth to wipe my sweat. Don't let my sweat get on the wound. Also, when I ask you to stop the bleeding, you have to use the tweezers on this side to stop the bleeding. Don't ask too much. But, can you do it? Will he? He didn't dare to say the word die. He only felt his heart tremble as he looked at the situation. Don't worry, this kind of surgery is just a piece of cake for me. It's not a big deal. As she spoke, she seemed to have thought of something and went outside. Not long after, she came back again. Where are you going this time? Luo Heng asked. To prevent anyone from disturbing us, I set up another barrier. Okay, let's start. At this time, she took off her dusty coat and only wore a clean inner garment. She started the surgery on Qindao. Chapter 1464. Following that, Fengjiu's skillful movements left him dumbfounded. His mind went blank, and all he could think of was the shocking scene in front of him. He never knew that a broken bone could be treated this way. He never knew that someone could do such a thing. He also didn't know that there was someone with such superb medical skills in this world. When he heard Fengjiu's cold and calm voice telling him to wipe his sweat, he mechanically followed Fengjiu's instructions and wiped his sweat in an orderly manner. When that voice told him to stop the bleeding, he picked up the gauze with tweezers and stopped the blood from seeping out of the wound. After an unknown amount of time, he felt dizzy. When he saw Fengjiu sewing up the wound on Qindao's waist with an embroidery needle, he opened his mouth and didn't know what to say. It turned out that human flesh could be sewn as clothes. Okay, the surgery is done. Fengjiu exhaled softly. The 4-hour surgery was finally completed, and the situation wasn't too bad. Actually, the recovery speed could be faster, and that was to use something to correct the displaced bones and fix them. However, that would be too troublesome. At that time, she would have to operate again to remove the things inside. Therefore, she used another method. Although it would be slower to let him recover naturally, at least she wouldn't have to operate again. Is it done? Luo Heng mumbled. When he saw Fengjiu nod in response, he finally couldn't take it anymore and fell to the ground with a thud. Ha! Fengjiu was stunned. She looked at Luo Heng, who had fainted on the ground, dumbfounded. What was going on? She went forward to check on him. Seeing that he was fine, he simply fainted because he couldn't withstand the impact. She didn't pay any attention to him. She took advantage of the time to concoct the ointment at the table. She also concocted a bottle of medicine. She plucked a ghost herb leaf from the space and mixed it with the ointment. After the ointment dissolved, she fed it to Qingdao. Speaking of which, you're quite lucky. This time, you picked the ghost herb in the arcane territory. With it, your bones will recover faster. She chuckled. Although she could use vitality to quickly heal Qingdao's wound, that would arouse suspicion. She could only wait for a few days to remove the stitches before applying the ointment. Luo Heng was woken up by the cold. He was lying on the ground in the middle of the night. When he jumped up, he saw Fengjiu fiddling with the ointment at the table. He went forward and asked, "What are you doing?" "You're awake." She glanced at him, just in time. "Come here and let me tell you." "Oh. Of course, of course, of course. Of the ointment. This is the ointment. I'll come to help him remove the stitches in 3 days before I can apply the ointment on senior brother Chen's wound. It hasn't healed yet, so we can only apply some anti-inflammatory ointment. In addition, senior brother Chen has to drink a bottle of this ointment every day for the next 3 days. I'll leave this to you. I'll be busy these days, so I might not be able to take care of it." Chapter 1465. His injuries haven't been stabilized yet, so try not to move him when he's lying on the bed. Also, don't let anyone see him for the time being, so as to avoid delaying the treatment and causing his lumbar vertebrae to shift. Fengjiu instructed, but didn't hear a reply for a long time. He raised his head and saw Luo Heng staring blankly at him with a strange expression on his face. He asked, "What's wrong?" Luo Heng returned to his senses and looked at the medicine. He asked, "Where did you get those things? Don't tell me you concocted them yourself." Although they weren't pills, they were medicinal liquids. Only an alchemist could concoct medicinal liquids. He was just an odd job worker, so how could he know something that alchemists couldn't? "Oh, this." Fengjiu smiled. "Didn't I say it already? My family's ancestral secret recipe. This ointment has no other use. It can only treat broken limbs and bones. As for the other medicinal liquids, they were all given to me by others. Even if I don't know how to refine pills, I still have the pills you gave me in my Qinkuan bag. And there are quite a few of them." Hearing this, although Luo Heng was puzzled, he knew that what he said was very reasonable. Although he was just an odd job worker, because he was good at running errands and had a sweet mouth, many alchemists would give him some low-grade pills as a reward. In that case, it wasn't surprising that Fengjiu had medicinal liquids that even alchemists couldn't concoct. All right. I'll remember everything you said." He nodded and put away the medicine on the table. He then said to Fengjiu, "Senior Marshal Brother Qin, leave everything here to me. I'll remember everything, so don't worry." "All right." Fengjiu nodded and told him a few other things in detail before leaving first. The next day, she wanted to go to the 8th peak to visit her mother under the guise of delivering the spiritual medicine. Unexpectedly, just as she walked out of the cave, she saw her mother walking over from not far away. She was stunned for a moment before quickly walking forward. Senior uncle, what's wrong? Thinking about it, it was quite funny. She was clearly his mother, and they already knew his identity, yet he still addressed her as senior uncle. You live here. Shangguan Wanrong looked at the simple and crude cave behind her and frowned slightly. The odd job disciples live here. She squinted her eyes with a smile and asked, do you want to go in and sit? Shangguan Wanrong nodded and entered the cave with her. When she entered, she found that the cave was not only small, but the facilities were not complete. There was not even a place to take a bath. Thinking that she did not even have a place to take a bath, she could not help but feel guilty. She lived in this kind of place and became a servant of 3 Young Peak because she came to find her. As her mother, not only did she fail to take care of her for so many years, she even let her experience such a life. She really shouldn't have. Sit. Fengzhou gestured and poured a cup of tea for her. He then looked at her and asked with anticipation, can I call you mother now? Hearing this, Shangguan Wanrong's heart clenched. She raised her eyes to look at her daughter, whose eyes were filled with anticipation. Her eyes could not help but heat up. She reached out her hand and gently stroked her face, asking in a soft voice, then can you listen to mother about something? Hearing this, Fengzhou's face revealed a happy smile and said in a light tone, Mother, what is it? Tell me. If her father knew that she had found her mother, he would definitely be very happy. Chapter 1466. Fengzhou's smile faded. He looked at her and asked, then will you come back with me, mother? I can't leave. Master said that I have to reach nascent soul within 3 months and become a nascent soul cultivator. Otherwise, he'll exile me to the wastelands of extreme evilness and make me experience the most miserable of survival breakthroughs. Shangguan Wanrong looked at her and said, I've come today because I want you to leave as soon as possible. It's not safe here, and I'll be even more worried if you stay here. Go back to your father first. Once I've dealt with everything here, I'll definitely come find you. Do you think you'll definitely be able to leave here safely, mother? She asked softly. The atmosphere froze and became rather heavy. However, Fengzhou did not think much of it. He continued, actually, you don't know this, but before I came here, I originally planned to go to the Shangguan clan and ask them to take you back. However, I heard that you were here, so I came looking for you. Father can rest assured that I'll be alone outside, not because of anything else, but because I have the ability to protect myself. My strength may not be outstanding among the 8 great empires, but it's not a problem for me to protect myself. It's also not a problem for me to protect mother. Shangguan Wanrong looked at her in a daze. At this moment, the feeling she gave off was different from before. At this moment, she was calm and indifferent. Her eyebrows exuded a self-confident expression. Her eyes were filled with wanton and arrogance. A noble and threatening aura filled the air from her body. Mother, I'm certain that 3 Yangtze wants to harm you. Although I don't know what he wants to do, it's definitely not something good. You can only tell me about it and let me share the burden with you, give you advice, and discuss how to deal with it. Otherwise, I don't believe you'll be able to leave under 3 Yangtze's nose alive. But if you stay and something happens to you. She was extremely worried. She had never thought that she would be unwilling to leave, nor did she think that her presence would suddenly change when she mentioned this matter. If you don't leave, I won't leave either. I promised father that I'd take mother back. Shangguan Wanrong sat in silence for a while when she heard that. Only after a long while did she gently sigh, then stay here for now. However, you can't call me Nyangqin when you're outside. Otherwise, if he finds out, he'll definitely do you harm. Yes, I know. She smiled and nodded her head. Her eyes narrowed as she asked, then can mother tell me the whole story now? When she saw this, Shangguan Wanrong had no other choice. Only then did she tell her the entire story and how she was brought back by 3 Yangtze. I have a feeling that there must be something wrong with 3 Yangtze's order for me to enter the nascent soul stage. If he really wants to take my life, I think it will be after I enter the nascent soul stage. She said slowly, however, how can it be so easy to enter the nascent soul realm? If I forcefully take the pill to advance, I'm worried that my foundation will be unstable, and it will be difficult to advance in the future. But in the current situation, even if I don't take the pill to advance, once the 3 months are up, I'm afraid that he will take action. Chapter 1467. No. Shengguan Wanrong directly refused and said with a solemn expression, this is too dangerous. Moreover, we can't fool him. Why can't we fool him? Mother, I'm already a nascent soul cultivator. My current strength is only suppressed by me. If I stay, I have enough strength to protect myself. I definitely won't let anything happen to me, and he definitely won't find out that we were switched. Shengguan Wanrong shook her head, no. Looking at her daughter's doubtful expression, she slightly paused and thought about it with slight hesitation before saying, he drugged me. My body isn't quite right. What? Fengjiu was startled and grabbed her wrist to examine it. After a while, he doubtfully said, your body is fine. There's no poison in your body. It's this hand. She stretched out her other hand and opened her palm for Fengjiu to see. Look, there's a red line here on the middle finger. Although it's not very obvious, this red blood line extends from the middle finger up to the arm. It's just that it's under the skin. If you don't pay attention, you won't be able to see it. Looking at the line of blood that appeared under the skin, Fengjiu's gaze slightly darkened. No wonder she couldn't find any problems when she checked the pulse. It turned out that the hidden blood had accumulated on that arm. She stretched out her hand and carefully examined the wrist of that hand. With this examination, her expression became strange. This isn't poison, it's medicine. She slowly said and looked at her mother, I think I should know what Sanyangzi wants to do. What does he want to do? Shengguan Wanrong softly asked. Fengjiu looked at her and asked with a strange expression, Mother, do you know you have a spirit-gathering physique? She shook her head and asked, Spirit-gathering physique? What kind of physique is that? What's the use of it? Aside from being imprisoned in the Shengguan clan, she was brought here and came in contact with matters related to medicinal pills. She didn't know anything about this physique. The spirit-gathering physique is like a mobile spiritual energy storage device. The reason why Sanyangzi wants you to advance to the nascent soul realm is so that he can use your nascent soul to refine pills after you condense it. She looked at Imo Tianga's shocked face and continued, the nascent soul of a person with the spirit-gathering physique is the purest. A nascent soul that is like a newborn has gathered all of your essence and blood. Furthermore, the medicine on your arm was prepared for him to use to concoct pills after you enter the nascent soul stage. To put it bluntly, he wants to use you as a human furnace to concoct pills that will allow him to live. Human furnace. Shengguan Wanrong's complexion turned pale, and a storm surged in her heart. She knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. If she wasn't useful, why would 3 Yangtze bring her here and say that he wanted to take her in as his last disciple? So it turned out that he had this idea. He wanted to use her as a human furnace to concoct an immortal pill for himself. And, Mother, the medicine on your arm right now are all top-quality spiritual herbs. Each stalk is at least 500 years old. I don't know what method he used to lock in the medicinal properties of your arms so that they won't be lost, but one thing is certain. These things aren't harmful in your body. It's just that these medicines haven't been refined into pills, so you won't be able to absorb them in your body. Chapter 1468. No, it's not harmful to you. It's just that the medicine is currently locked onto your arm. If the medicine spreads, it'll be different. Fengjiu slightly frowned, thought for a bit, and said, it's a bit difficult to be sure right now. Even if I can disguise myself as you and learn everything, it'll be useless. He'll definitely be able to see through it. Also, among these medicines, there's a medicine that prevents you from escaping, the purple gold orange jasmine. She slowly walked around the cave as she thought of a solution. After a while, she said, the other medicines are fine. You can find a time to let your blood out and get rid of the medicine. However, this purple gold orange jasmine is a latent medicine. If you leave 3 Yang Peak too far away, this purple gold orange jasmine will become a poison. The only medicine that can cure this purple gold orange jasmine is the accompanying herb of the purple gold 3-leaf grass. Then when I entered the secret territory, why didn't the purple gold orange jasmine turn into a poison? Shengguan Wanrong asked curiously. That must be because you have the scent of the purple gold 3-leaf grass on you. Shengguan Wanrong shook her head, but I don't have that thing on me. If I did, I would definitely know. The purple gold orange jasmine doesn't have any scent. Even if it's in your body, you won't be able to detect it. However, it can sense the accompanying herb. The purple gold orange jasmine that leaves the accompanying herb will become a poison. The accompanying herb that leaves the purple gold orange jasmine will also wither after 7 days. Hearing this, Shengguan Wanrong said, if that's the case, then I'll pretend that I don't know anything and continue to cultivate. I'll leave after I find the accompanying herb. But if you do that, your situation. Fengjiu was a bit worried. It's okay. Nothing will happen. She revealed a smile and said, you, on the other hand, take care of yourself here. I won't come to see you about this to avoid arousing suspicion. Okay, I'll secretly go see you. Fengjiu calmed herself down and squinted her eyes with a smile. Don't worry, mother. You're not alone. And I know. Her eyes were slightly red as she reached out and hugged her tightly. Mother and daughter talked for a while in the Immortal's cave. It wasn't until near noon that Shengguan Wanrong got up and left, intending to return to the Immortal's cave to cultivate. Although 3 months was a bit fast, with the help of medicinal pills, it was not impossible to enter the Yuanying stage. In the next few days, other than taking care of her mother's situation, Fengjiu would occasionally take time to visit Qingdao. 3 days later, the stitches were removed and the ointment was applied. However, Qingdao still hadn't woken up. Fengjiu felt that a sleeping Qingdao was better for his recovery. At the very least, he wouldn't be too agitated. Fengjiu decided to let Qingdao sleep until his lumbar vertebrae had more or less recovered. At that time, Qingdao would be able to see the results and wouldn't move his body and cause the wound to open again. On this day, Fengjiu came to Qingdao's cave abode again. Before he got close, he heard Luo Heng's voice coming from inside the cave abode. Fengjiu, Fengjiu, you're here. Come in, I have something to tell you. She stepped forward and asked, what's the matter? Chapter 1469. Hearing this, Fengjiu asked, then what did you tell him? Luo Heng scratched his head and said, I didn't have time to say anything before he left. He just came over to say that he was coming. He didn't even come in to see senior brother Qin. I couldn't even say anything to him. Next time he comes, tell him that senior brother Qin wishes to return in 3 months. If he asks why, tell him that senior brother Qin has lived here for so many years that he has developed feelings for this place. He knows that once he returns, he won't be able to return. He hopes that the Grand Elder will make an exception and bring him back in 3 months. Her voice paused slightly, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. I think, for such a small request, Great Elder shouldn't disregard the face of the clan and directly reject it. Luo Heng was puzzled and asked, why don't you just tell him that you're treating senior brother Qin? That he'll recover in 3 months. Is it because you're not confident? He thought that it would be more direct and clear. Why did he have to beat around the bush? Fengjiu rolled his eyes speechlessly. I'm just a servant. Even you don't believe that I can cure Senior Brother Chin. How can the Great Elder believe me? Moreover, isn't it strange to say it out loud? You said it yourself. If a servant like me has such medical skills, I'm not a servant anymore. If they treat me as a spy and execute me, who can I cry to? That's right. If you have such medical skills, why are you a servant? Are you really a spy? He asked in confusion. He felt that it was very strange. Fengzhou's mouth twitched. She had a big mouth. He kept asking questions. If she continued, he would probably keep asking questions. Hey, Fengzhou, she raised her hand to stop him from asking any more questions. I'll go check on Senior Brother Chin. With that, she entered Qindao's cave. Once inside, she checked Qindao's pulse and the recovery rate of his lumbar vertebrae. She asked, when was this ointment applied? I just applied it this morning. Fengzhou, Senior Brother Chin hasn't eaten anything for a few days. Will he be able to take the medicine you've prepared? Luo Heng asked as he walked to the bedside. Fengzhou, Senior Brother Chin hasn't eaten anything in days. Yes, it's no problem. As she spoke, she asked how much medicine was left. After checking, she kept a few bottles and said, in another half a month. In another half a month, he can wake up and eat on his own. By then, he should be able to feel the recovery rate of his spine. Luo Heng stared at her and didn't know what he was thinking. She asked, what's wrong? Is there something on my face? No, but you're amazing. Although I don't know much about medicine, I can see that Senior Brother Chin is recovering day by day. Tell me, how can someone like you be an odd job worker? Fengzhou smiled and did not intend to say anything more. She walked out. Unexpectedly, Luo Heng blocked her way. Fengzhou, tell me in detail. It's very uncomfortable to be left hanging like this. And tell me, who are you? I'm Fengzhou. Is. She chuckled and said, as for the rest, you don't have to be too curious. Anyway, you just need to know that I won't harm you. Chapter 1470. Hearing this, Fengzhou couldn't help but laugh. Of course not. You're a great alchemist. How can I compare to you? Alright, I'll go back first. I'll come back in a few days. With that, he waved his hand and left. Luo Heng stood outside the cave and watched. He had been living here for a while. Other than being able to take care of Qindao, it also saved him the trouble of running around. Although he hadn't interacted much with Qindao before, he still respected his character. Now that he was in such a state, although he couldn't save him, he could help to take care of him. A few days later, in the morning, the Great Elder followed a few clan members to Qindao's cave. Before they entered, they saw Luo Heng coming out to greet them. It's the Great Elder. Greetings, Great Elder. Are you here to see Senior Brother Chin? Luo Heng asked with a smile. I'm here to bring him back to the clan. The Great Elder glanced at Luo Heng and asked, why are you still here? Oh, it's like this. Senior Brother Chin has helped me a lot previously. I thought that it would be inconvenient for him to move around, so I came to take care of him for a while. With that, he paused and said, Great Elder, there's one more thing that Senior Brother Chin asked me to pass on. What is it? He glanced at Luo Heng and asked. It's like this. Senior Brother Chin said that he wants to stay here for a few more months before going back. After all, he has lived here for so long and has grown attached to it. He can't bear to leave so suddenly, so that before he could finish, he was interrupted. He's already in such a state and he still wants to stay here. Isn't he staying here to be a joke? This is ridiculous. Qindao's spine is injured. Could it be that his brain is also not working well? The great elder's face was filled with displeasure as he exuded a powerful aura. It shocked Luo Heng so much that he couldn't speak for a while. "All of you, come with me and carry him back to the clan," the great elder said to the people behind him as he stepped forward to enter the clan. Luo Heng was so nervous that he didn't know what to do. At this moment, he saw a green figure walking towards them. He immediately shouted happily, "Fengzhou! Fengzhou, you're here. Quick, come over here quickly." Fengzhou, who had not been here for a few days, wanted to come and take a look. When he saw the few people in front of the cave residence and the old man, he knew their identities. When he saw Luo Heng's anxious face, he knew that he could not handle the great elder. Hence, he quickly jogged to the front. Grand Elder, Grand Elder. You must be Great Elder Qin, right? Grand Elder, I heard from Senior Brother Luo that Grand Elder had come to visit Senior Brother Qin several times. I always hoped to meet Grand Elder, but I didn't expect to meet you today. Fengzhou quickly walked past Luo Heng and arrived in front of the First Elder. His face was full of surprise and excitement, as if he had seen someone he respected and worshipped. His eyes shone with surprise as he looked at the First Elder. The First Elder was slightly startled. Seeing the look of worship on the young man's face, he couldn't help but let out a soft cough and asked, "Who are you? How could he be so unruly? Why are you making such a big fuss?" First Elder, although Disciple Feng 9 is only a lowly handyman, my admiration for the First Elder is like an unstoppable river, like the overflowing Yellow River. The First Elder's name is like thunder in my ears, and you are like a god in my heart. I also heard from Senior Brother Qin that as the First Elder of the number 1 Pill sect in the 8 Great Empires, the First Elder does not forget the clansmen, and it is not difficult to guide and help them. Chapter 1471. Everyone knew how to flatter, but it was rare to see someone flatter like this young man. No one would flatter someone so smoothly on their first meeting. It was as if he had done it so casually. The thickness of his skin was extraordinary. One had to know that no one would flatter someone in such a way. This brat was an oddball. Ahem. First Elder coughed lightly and glanced at Fengzhou. He raised his hand and said, "That's enough. If you have something to say, say it." He wanted to see what tricks this young man had up his sleeves. "I don't have anything to say. I just want to express my admiration for First Elder, and..." Before he could finish, he was interrupted. All right. I came here today because I have something to do. I won't talk nonsense with you." As he spoke, he glanced at Fengzhou and asked, "What did you say your name was?" "Disciple Fengzhou. I'm an odd job worker of 3rd Peak Yang." She smiled and said, "Fengzhou." He sized her up and nodded. "All right, go do your work. There's nothing for you to do here." "No." The smile on her face disappeared and she said seriously, "First Elder, you still don't know, right? During this period of time, Senior Brother Luo and I have been taking care of Senior Brother Qin. Yesterday, Senior Brother Qin was still crying his eyes out, saying that he had lost face for the Qin clan and the Great Elder. He said that ever since he entered the sect, it was the Great Elder who had been taking care of him. He had always respected the Great Elder as his father. Now that something like this had happened, he was even more ashamed to face the Great Elder. When the Qin clan members heard this, their hearts ached. They couldn't help but glance at the First Elder before lowering their heads. Luo Heng's mouth twitched. What did he mean by he had been taking care of Qin Dao? It was clearly him who had been taking care of him. Also, what did he mean by Qin Dao was crying yesterday? Qin Dao was still sleeping like a pig. He probably didn't even know that he had been sold. Besides, when did he come over yesterday? He was really spouting nonsense. He didn't know that his ability to spout nonsense was so great. Look at how the First Elder and the others were so stunned that they didn't seem to be able to react. Just as Luo Heng thought, the first elder was also startled when he heard Fingzhou's words. He was a little surprised, but he didn't think that Fingzhou was spouting nonsense because Qindao was usually very respectful to him in the sect. For a moment, he hesitated. If he were to disregard his wishes and send him back to his clan, wouldn't that make him seem unreasonable and cold-blooded? At this moment, Fingzhou suddenly turned around and asked, "That's right, senior brother Luo." Senior brother Qin said that he hopes to stay here for a few more months before returning. Have you told First Elder about this? Ah. Yes, he did. He stared blankly for a moment before turning to look at the Grand Elder. Hearing this, Fingzhou grinned and looked at the First Elder with joy. I knew the First Elder would agree to let Senior Brother Qin stay here for a few more months. It's such a small request, and the First Elder treats Senior Brother Qin so well, how could he not agree? Ahem. The First Elder coughed softly and looked deeply at Fingzhou. Since that's the case, let him stay here for a few more months. The two of you are too kind to him. Chapter 1472. Luo Heng heaved a sigh of relief as he watched them leave. He stepped forward and patted Fingzhou's shoulder. You're really something. You actually managed to change the Great Elder's mind like this. You don't know that I did as you said, but he didn't listen and insisted on bringing Qindao back. Fingzhou smiled. He looked at the 2 bottles of medicine in his hand and passed them to Luo Heng. Take them. Let's go in and take a look at Senior Brother Qin. Seeing the figure striding inside, Luo Heng hurriedly followed after her. The 3 Yang Peak appeared to be calm and tranquil on the surface. However, as Shengguan Wanrong entered into closed-door cultivation, the thoughts of Duanmu Bai and the others started to float. They kept having the feeling that something was about to happen. However, even if they were people of the same generation as the martial uncles in the 3 Yang Peak, they had no way of asking about their master's matters. As a result, the worries and doubts in their hearts kept lingering, and they were not in the mood to cultivate. On this day, the 4 of them met under the tree in front of the cave abode to drink tea. After drinking a cup of tea, the 4th-ranked pill master broke the silence and asked, "What do you think our master is trying to do?" After returning, junior sister only went to our master's 9 peaks once before going into seclusion. Although nothing happened recently, I still feel uneasy. There's nothing we can do about it. We can only wait and see. Nothing happened now, so we can't overstep the rules, right? The 2nd-ranked pill master said as he took a sip of tea. Eldest senior brother, what do you think? Another person asked Duanmubai, who was silent. Just as 2nd junior brother said, nothing happened, so we can't do anything. Duanmubai looked down as he said that. Even if they knew their master's intentions, they could not stop everything from happening. He only hoped that his junior sister could leave this place. This way, they could prevent their master from killing his disciple. However, this was only his guess. How could he say it out loud? The few of them drank their tea in silence, and their minds were filled with different thoughts. A few days later, because the 3 Yang Peak looked peaceful on the surface and Fingzhou had nothing to do, she went to Qindao's cave abode again. Calculating the time, it had been half a month since she had operated on Qindao. After such a long time, she should be able to wake Qindao up. Luo Heng, who had been counting the days, was also very excited because he couldn't wait to see the effects of Qindao's recovery and let him tell them the results. Therefore, when the full 15 days were up, he had been pacing back and forth outside the cave residence waiting for Fingzhou early in the morning. When he saw Fingzhou leisurely walking towards him, his eyes lit up as he raised his hand and shouted. Fingzhou, Fingzhou, walk faster, don't be so slow. I have been waiting for you for a long time. She smiled, and not long after, she walked up to him. What's the hurry? Aren't I here now? She walked past him and asked, has anyone come to disturb Senior Marshal Brother Chen recently? Tisk. It's not like you don't know that ever since he became like this, no one would come to see him. Of course, the two of us are exceptions. It's good that they didn't come. As Fingjo spoke, she went to the bedside and checked before taking out the silver needles. Half a month has passed, and his bones are recovering well. Although he can't get out of bed yet, at least they are fixed and won't move easily. Chapter 1473. Qingdao opened his eyes and stared blankly at the smiling young man in front of him. The scene before he fell asleep seemed to appear in his mind at this moment. He opened his mouth, and his voice was a little hoarse. I'm Fengjiu. Senior Marshal Brother Qin, did you forget about me after waking up? Fengjiu smiled and looked at him with a pair of eyes, teasing him. Senior Brother Qin, you're really awake. Hurry up and feel your waist. Hurry up. Luo Heng came forward and looked at him expectantly. Waist. Yes, his lumbar was broken. His lumbar was displaced. His lumbar vertebrae were too broken and couldn't be recovered. He was paralyzed. In an instant, his expression changed unpredictably. He looked gloomy and pale. He was paralyzed. What else could he do? His life was ruined. Seeing him lying motionless on the bed and staring blankly at the ceiling, Luo Heng couldn't help but scratch his head. After glancing at Fengjiu, he called out again, Senior Brother Qin, try moving your leg. Let us see the effect. Hearing this, Qingdao turned around expressionlessly and looked at Luo Heng. He said in a low voice, I broke my lumbar vertebrae. Everything below my waist is useless. I can't use any strength. Don't you know? I'm paralyzed. I can't move my leg. Luo Heng grinned. Try it. How can you not know if you don't try? Why don't I pinch you to see if you can feel your lower body? As he spoke, he chuckled and really pinched Qingdao's thigh hard. Ouch! Aw! Qingdao instinctively cried out in pain when the pain assaulted him. However, when the sound came out of his mouth, he was stunned. Because of the pain, he retracted his leg. But it was such a small movement that made his eyes burn. His face was full of disbelief. How can this be? How can this be? Fengjiu glared at Luo Heng. You really pinched him. You can't pinch so hard. Did you forget that his body hasn't recovered yet? What a mess. I was just thinking, what if he doesn't feel anything when I pinch him too small? So I pinched a little harder. Look, isn't it feeling now? Of course, he wouldn't say that it was a rare opportunity to pinch Qingdao's thigh in front of him. It would be a waste not to pinch it. After all, he had been so busy taking care of Qingdao for the past half a month that he had become haggard. He hadn't even been able to sleep well. Qingdao was dumbfounded as he said in disbelief, My waist. My waist can exert strength. Can your waist exert strength now? How could this be? How could this be? Senior Brother Qin, this is all thanks to Fengjiu. He used his family's old ointment to fix your lumbar spine. Also, this kid has excellent medical skills. Fortunately, he helped you with the surgery. You don't know, but he used a knife to clean out all the broken bones in your lumbar spine. Then, he sewed your flesh up like a piece of clothing. I took a look when I helped you change the dressing. Now, there's only a dark red scar there. If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known that it had been cut open. Fengjiu rolled her eyes and pushed Luo Heng aside. Okay. Let me talk to you. Luo Heng's words were messy and scary. Okay. Let me talk to you. Luo Heng was speechless. Chapter 1474. She paused and smiled. Your displaced lumbar vertebra has been corrected, and it has been half a month since you fell asleep. After the surgery, your bones have been fixed and won't be displaced easily. However, it will take some time for you to fully recover. I estimate that it will take about 3 months. After 3 months, you should be able to get out of bed and walk around as if you have recovered. Listening to Fengjiu's words, Chen Dao seemed to hear the sound of his heart beating like thunder. His words were like a ray of sunshine that suddenly appeared in the dark sky, dispersing the haze that enveloped him. It was also like he, who was about to drown, hugged a piece of driftwood and regained his vitality. His originally dead heart was rekindled with hope at this moment. His original despair turned into hope at this moment. Those who had not experienced all of this would not understand the excitement and joy in his heart at this moment. They would not understand the excitement and uncontrollable emotions of someone rescuing and pulling him out of a hopeless situation in the darkness of despair. It was said that men did not cry easily. However, at this moment, his eyes were red and hot tears overflowed. Those were tears of joy and excitement. Can I really stand up? Can I really return to how I was before? Will I really not become a cripple? The 3 questions in a row showed the eagerness and excitement in his heart. Fengjiu smiled slightly and said with certainty, "Of course. If I say you can recover, you will definitely recover. However, the premise is that you have to cooperate with the treatment after you wake up. The ointment can't be stopped for a day, and you can't move your lumbar vertebra at will. During this period, you have to lie down." Okay. I'll lie down. I won't move. I won't move. His voice was choked with sobs. His hands were tightly clenched into fists to suppress the excitement in his heart. You just woke up and your emotions aren't too agitated. Take a rest first, she said and beckoned Luo Heng to go out with her. Then, she asked, "How much ointment do you have left? If it's not enough, I'll have to transfer more." "Wait, I'll take it to you." Luo Heng walked inside and took out the medicine that Fengjiu had prepared for Chen Dao. "Look, there's still so much left. As for these medicinal liquids, there are still a few bottles left. These few bottles of liquid medicine should be enough for him to drink. As for the ointment, well, I'll bring some over in a few days. That should be enough." She continued, "You've been taking care of him for a while. Now that senior brother Chin is awake, do you want to go back and have a good rest?" "No need." Luo Heng waved his hand. "He also has an empty room here. I've gotten used to it recently. I'll go back when he's better. Otherwise, once the news of senior martial brother Chen's sudden recovery spreads, you will be in trouble." Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "Then I'll have to trouble you. We are all brothers. Why are you saying this?" Luo Heng smiled and said, "Come, let's go in and chat with him." Thus, the 2 of them walked in again and briefly told Chen Dao about what had happened recently, including the fact that the first elder had sent someone to bring him back. Chapter 1475. When Fengjiu and Luo Heng heard this, they looked at each other and smiled. Yes, the current him was the confident Chen Dao who liked to stroke his 2 tufts of mustache. Thinking of his mustache, Fengjiu stared at his face and smiled. "Senior brother Chin, your mustache was shaved off by senior brother Luo. Looks like you'll have to grow it again." Seeing Chen Dao instinctively reach out to touch his beardless mouth after being startled, Luo Heng couldn't help but smile. Hee, I thought that it would be easier to clean it after shaving it off, so. It's okay, I'll grow it again. He smiled and sincerely thanked the 2 of them. "Thank you so much for this period of time." "It's nothing, you don't have to thank us. That's too formal." Luo Heng smiled. "That's right. Senior brother Chin has also helped me a lot. I'm very happy to be able to help senior brother Chin." Fengjiu said with a smile. "Fengjiu, you've given me a new life. I, Chen Dao, will always remember this great kindness. In the future, if you need me for anything, I will definitely not refuse." Senior brother Chin, you're too serious. She smiled and said, this is actually not a big problem, Senior brother Chin, you don't have to take it to heart. Then, she paused and said, since Senior brother Chin is awake, I'll go back first. Chen Dao nodded and said to Luo Heng, Junior brother Luo, help me send Fingzhou out. Okay. Luo Heng replied and sent Fingzhou out. Seeing Fingzhou leave, Chen Dao, who was lying on the bed, slowly closed his eyes. Fingzhou knew that he was extraordinary when he first met him, but he didn't expect him to say that the illness that even the sex alchemists and doctors couldn't treat was not a big problem when it came to him. One had to know that the sex alchemists and doctors were first-class people anywhere, but such people couldn't even compare to him, a servant disciple. Or perhaps, he was not a servant at all. But no matter what, he had healed him and had given him a new lease of life. He would always remember this kindness. Outside, Fingzhou removed her enchantment and said to Luo Heng, I'll send the ointment over in a few days. I'll leave first. If there's anything, send someone to find me. Okay, you can go back. Luo Heng waved his hand. He only knew that he seemed to be very busy recently, but he did not know what he was busy with. Fingzhou nodded and turned to leave. When she walked out of the 7th peak and was about to head down to the cave abode, she saw Duanmu Bai standing nearby with his hands behind his back. When he saw her, he turned around and left, leaving only one sentence behind. Come with me. She paused for a moment before following behind him. It was only when they arrived at the forest behind the 7th summit that Duanmu Bai stopped in his tracks and turned around to stare at her. Seeing this, she bowed first. Greetings, Uncle Master Duan. Uncle Master Duan, do you have any instructions for me? Fingzhou, who exactly are you? Duanmu Bai asked in a low voice. Hearing this, Fingzhou was stunned and looked confused. I'm Fingzhou. Didn't Uncle Master Duan already know? Chapter 1476. Senior Uncle Duan, of course I entered the Danyang sect hoping to learn some skills. I just didn't expect that I would only become a servant disciple. But even a servant is still a disciple of the sect. Also, I didn't get close to Senior Uncle Shengwan. I only chatted with her a little more when I delivered her elixirs and met her in the mystic realm. That's all. If there's anything, it would be that Senior Uncle Shengwan saw that I was young and took good care of me. This is true. Why would Senior Uncle Duan ask such a strange question? She said innocently, if Senior Uncle Duan doesn't believe me, you can ask Senior Uncle Shengwan. However, ever since I returned, Senior Uncle Shengwan seemed to have gone into seclusion. She hasn't asked me to deliver elixirs for a long time and I haven't seen her for a long time. Is it really that simple? Duanmu Bai was still suspicious. Yes, what else does Senior Uncle Duan think it is? She asked in confusion. She tilted her head and thought for a while, then said, is there a problem because Senior Uncle Shengwan's expression is gentler when facing me? Senior Uncle Shengwan is such a gentle person, isn't she always like that? Why would Senior Uncle Duan have such a strange idea and think that I have the intention to take over Senior Uncle Shengwan? She asked again and met his scrutinizing gaze with an open expression. There was no trace of fear in her clear eyes. Duanmu Bai stared at Fingzhou for a while and saw that the youth in front of him had an open and clear gaze. He withdrew his scrutinizing gaze and instructed in a low voice, stay away from her in the future. With that, he turned and left. Fengzhou's eyes flickered as she watched Duanmu Bai turn around and leave. As she watched his figure gradually disappear into the distance, the corners of her mouth curled up, revealing a devilish smile. Her previous honest and simple demeanor had disappeared without a trace at this moment, leaving behind only shrewdness and devilish charm. I should have told you this later. Stay away from my mother if you have nothing to do. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you. Her clear and unhurried voice was heard. She withdrew her gaze and walked down the mountain with a smile on her lips, in the following days, she went to her mother's cave to see her. Although the cave's array formation was fully activated, she had the jade token her mother gave her, so she could enter and leave the cave as she pleased. Days passed in peace and quiet. Chen Dao's injuries were getting better and better. He went from being unable to get out of bed to being able to walk around. His recovery speed was extremely fast. Moreover, the news of him being able to get out of bed and walk around was still sealed. Other than Fengzhou and Luoheng, no one else knew. Chen Dao felt even more gratitude and admiration towards Fengzhou because it really was as Fengzhou had said. He had basically recovered in less than 3 months, and he should be able to make a full recovery in just a few more days. On this day, a few thunderous sounds came from the sky, as if someone was breaking through. Once the thunderous sound spread out, the people of the Three Yang Peak and even the Danyang sect were very surprised. Especially when the alchemists of the Danyang sect found out that Sheng Wanwanrong, one of the Three Yangzi's disciples, had broken through to the nascent soul stage, they were even more envious and amazed. This girl has not been in the sect for long, but her strength has improved very quickly. Back then, she was only a cultivator at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Now, she has entered the nascent soul stage.